Hello, welcome to Statecraft IAS and Social Perspectives Sociology in Newspaper series. In this series, we shall discuss daily news articles in sociological perspective and revise relevant socially related UPSC mains concepts with the help of newspaper on daily basis. In today's video, we have an article talking about Kerala's Ayurvedic retreats. It says Kerala's Ayurvedic retreats innovate to stay open. Luxury resorts offer discounted packages for locals and treatments specifically designed for COVID rehab. Now, if we look into the R.K. Merton's conformity and deviance concept, R.K. Merton talks about cultural goals and institutional means. He says when there is unequal emphasis between cultural goals and institutional means, there lies a situation or there that results in a situation called state anomy. Now he says different individuals react differently to the state anomy, and he lists out five possible responses to that state anomy, namely conformity, innovative, ritualistic, retreatist, rebellion. Now, in this article also, there are cultural goals and institutional means for those Ayurvedic retreat centers. What are their cultural goals? Obviously, to earn profits. What is institutional means? They have particular season, the tourist season, for them to operate or for them to earn profits, and they earn more profits in that particular season only every year. Now, institutional means to earn profits for them is to operate in that particular season like they do every year and earn profits like every other person is, or every other retreat center is doing. But here they thought of innovating new means to reach that goals, because they know that if they follow that particular institutional mean, they would not reach those cultural goals. That means they know that if they operate in the regular Karkadakam season, it is called, they would not earn much profits like they do every year, because here in this particular year COVID-19 pandemic is there and lockdown restrictions are there. That's why they had to innovate new means to reach their goals. That means new seasons or new discount packages to reach their profit goals. Here, if you go into the contents of the article, it says after two lockdowns, tourism in Kerala is cautiously opening with Karkadakam, that means July August, the last month of the Malayalam calendar. Considered to be an ideal time of the year for Ayurveda treatments, the state is usually bustling with wellness tourism at this time, as domestic and international travelers arrive in droves, staying for a month or more. But COVID-19 has changed everything. For the second consecutive year, the Ayurveda centers need to find creative ways to stay afloat. See here, if they had followed the Karkadakam regular season to operate, they wouldn't have earned profits, or they will not earn profits. Hence, they had to innovate some new means to reach their cultural goals. It says monsoon treatment. This year, instead of Karkadakam packages, the accent is on monsoon treatment. Hefty discounts are being offered for a treatment regime comprising Sukachikitsa, that means preventive therapy, rejuvenation sessions with Panchakarma treatment, and medicated diets. Some centers began offering packages from June onwards, the beginning of the southwest monsoon in the state. See, this is a classical example of R.K. Merton's innovative deviance. He says conformity kind of deviants are those people who lay equal emphasis on cultural goals and institutional means even under state economy. Now, innovative are those kind of people who give up institutional means to reach their cultural goals. That means they know that if they follow institutional means, they would not reach cultural goals. That's why they innovate new means to reach their cultural goals. Here, this Kerala Ayurvedic retreat centers are classic example. We can quote this example in answers also. Now, ritualistic kind of people are those people who understand that they will not reach those cultural goals if they follow these institutional means. But even then, they do not like to leave or give up their institutional means. Hence, they adhere to those institutional means and they give up their cultural goals. Now, in the same situation, if the Ayurvedic centers had chosen to operate in regular Karkadakam season only rather than monsoon season, and they cut down their profits, because if they accepted it as fate and had cut down their profits, now we would have termed them under ritualistic kind of people, because they are adhering to their institutional means even when they know that they would not reach their cultural goals. through those means. That would have been ritualistic kind of situation. Now, retreatism is something wherein people understand that they do not reach those cultural goals if they follow their institutional means, and hence they give up both their means and goals and they retreat from society. They accept their defeat and hence they retreat from both those means and cultural goals. Now, here also in this particular example, if any Ayurvedic center has closed down their Ayurvedic treatment center because they understood that they would not reach their profit goals if they follow lockdown restrictions or regular Karkadakam season, thinking in that manner, if they had closed down the Ayurvedic retreat centers and if they had gone back, we would have termed them as retreatist kind of people. Now, rebellion is something that these kind of people also give up both their cultural goals and institutional means, but they have some kind of alternative social order in their mind. That means they do not want these means and they do not like these goals at all. That's why they have alternative goals in their mind and they have some alternative means to reach those goals. That kind of people are called as rebellion kind of people. Now, why such kind of deviance is seen in particular individuals? The deviance pattern is also observed like that. Not everybody reacts or not everybody deviates in the same manner. There are some differences between individual to individual to deviate in particular manner. That difference is explained by other sociologists like Albert Cohen says it may be due to frustration. Frustration may be due to economic crisis or social norms or excessive social control or excessive political control. Because of all this, people tend to get frustrated with their own lives or with their own society, and that frustration leads to deviance, according to Albert Cohen. Now, in this particular example, also, what made those Ayurvedic retreat centers to innovate new means to earn profits? It might be frustration because they have got frustrated since last 1 year, uh, having operating within the Karkadakam season and having earning lesser profits. Now that has made them to innovate new means to reach their goals. Hence, frustration can be said as one of the reasons for them to innovate new means. Now, Bernard Landauer says it is due to social disorganization, and this may not be so much relevant for our particular article. Walter Miller says it may be due to thrill. Now, this is also not relevant. Cloyd and Olin says it is due to criminal subculture. That means they have their in they have it in their culture. That means it may be within their relatives or among their peer groups or friends or colleagues, etc. They must have grown in that kind of culture wherein deviance is a social norm for them. That means deviance is nothing much uh, so extraordinary for them. It is normal for them. If they had grown in that kind of societies, that leads to deviance for that particular individuals, and that is called criminal subculture, according to Cloward and Olin. Now, David Mazza says it may be due to mood fatalism. Mood fatalism is a psychological condition wherein that individuals tend to think that everybody else is deviating from the institutional means or cultural goals. So why should only I follow those means and goals? What gives me if I follow what is given to me if I follow those institutional means and cultural goals? Why should only I follow? I too will deviate. This kind of psychological or mental condition is known as mode fatalism, and though that mode fatalism results in deviance, according to David Mazza. Now, Howard Baker says it may be due to labeling. That means labeling a particular individual or organization as deviant, as criminal, or as thief, or as burglar or robber, etc. That kind of particular labeling results in further deviance from means and goals by that individual. So, Edwin M. Lamart says there are two kinds of deviances. Primary deviance is something which happens before labeling, and secondary deviance is something which happens after labeling. Now, here, this particular article, frustration may be one of the reasons, as Albert Cohen rightly said. They might have got frustrated with their own situation, and that might have forced them to innovate new means to earn profits. That means new means to reach their cultural goals. Now, moving on to the next article, we have a data point article here talking about underemployment in our country triggered by COVID-19 pandemic. Now these particular statistics or this particular kind of analysis is highly relevant and highly important for our paper 2 especially. In paper 1 also we have a unit called we have a unit called works and economic life in paper 1. In paper 2 also we have units called rural and agrarian transformation in India. Under that there is a particular chapter called problems of rural labor, bondage or migration, etc. Also, under the unit industrialization and urbanization in India, we have particular chapters called working class, structure, growth, mobilization, urban settlements. Hence, for all those chapters or all those topics, these kind of particular analysis are important for our sociology answers. Hence, looking into the article, it says the periodic labor force survey data show that the amount of work available for workers in India reduced substantially in the period coinciding with the national lockdown during the first COVID-19 wave. Underemployment was more pronounced in the urban parts compared to the rural areas. In April June 2020, about 26% of urban employees worked for 36 hours or less a week compared to the 13% a year earlier. Now, this particular statistic can be quoted in our answers, can be used in our answers. It may be noted down. The decrease in the available hours of work has recorded across India with very few exceptions. Going into the statistic again, underemployment was more pronounced in the urban parts compared to the rural areas. It must be remembered. In April June 2020, about 26% of urban employees worked for 36 hours or less a week compared to the 13% a year earlier. That means without pandemic, only 13% of the employees worked for 36 hours or less a week, whereas pandemic has given spike to that particular number from 13% to 26%. That means it is increased by another 13%. Now this graphs show about all workers, it is about urban workers and it is about rural workers. Looking into the content, the bar graph shows the share of workers distributed across the number of hours they worked in a week in April June 2020. See here, these yellow lines are the share of workers distributed according to the number of hours they worked in a week. Now blue lines are nothing but the same figure corresponding to the year 2019. Now in 2019 the number of workers the number of hours is particularly more in a week compared to 2020 across all the age groups, if you see, except 0 to 12, across all the time frames. Here this particular graph shows the data plot. The dot plot shows the share of workers who worked less than 36 hours a week in April June 2020 and April June 2019. So less than 36 hours a week, the share of workers, it is represented by blue dots. These are particularly lesser in number, whereas the orange dots, if you see, these orange dots are corresponding to the year 2020, except in few states like Chhattisgarh, Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan. All the remaining states have higher number of workers working for less than 36 hours in the corresponding year of 2020. Now coming to the urban workers also, the trend is same. That means the number of hours worked in a week is relatively less in 2020 when compared to 2019. Also among urban workers also, the proportion of workers who worked for less than 36 hours a week is lesser in 2019 when compared to 2020. The rural workers also, the trend is almost same. See, the number of hours per week, the working hours per week is lesser in 2020 when compared to 2019. Also, the share of workers who worked for less than 36 hours a week is more in 2020 and when compared to that of 2019. Hence, these particular trends can be written in answers. We can also draw a rough graph at the side of our answers, consuming not much space and enhance 1 or 2 marks in our scores. Now that's all we have for today. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to Statecraft IS. If you have any comments or criticisms, or if you have anything to say, please comment and let me know in the comment section. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.